There's some nerd stuff going on here in YouTube land, and I'm not on Twitter or on X. I'm on MySpace, or what's ever left of MySpace. In this case, Friend Project and Space Hay, because MySpace. I'm on MySpace, but it doesn't actually work anymore. It's just a dead page where nothing loads. But apparently, but I'm on YouTube, and I do kind of get the periphery of nerd drama and gossip, which sometimes I find interesting, and other times I find like, just shut up because nobody cares and just live your life. But apparently, this caught my attention because, as you can see in the corner, I've got a Goku, a Goku GIF from Hyperdimension. I'm wearing a Boo hat. I'm wearing a Dragon Ball shirt, and if you looking around the game room and knowing me, you know that I'm a huge Akira Toriyama fan, and I'm just so indebted to his work in terms of influencing my artistic style and my desire to make Japanese style comic books and comic books in general. Okay, so pretty much after he died, there was a lot of people who were like me, just very upset and sharing their respects. But there was like this one, I guess, account or something called Sweet Baby Inc., and it was like throwing shade at Akira Toriyama for Mr. Popo. Now, Mr. Popo, he looks like a mythological genie in Asian mythology. But because Akira Toriyama was also influenced by American-style comic book art from, the 40s and 50s, African Americans were drawn a certain way, and some people consider that racist. Now, Akira Toriyama is a Japanese guy growing up in the coming of age in the 70s and 80s. Like, there's no cultural context for the identity politics bullshit in Japan, especially in like the 1980s, okay? Like, there is a romanticization of Western culture in Asia, and various aesthetics of that carry over. Racism is bad. There's no question about that. Don't be racist. Being a racist is stupid, and it's immoral, because you wouldn't like it if somebody unfairly judged you and made assumptions about you. However, if in Japanese media, there's stuff that happens to look a certain way that is not considered like of a racial context in their situation, and somebody in the United States has a different reading of that, that's just instances of different reading of things. I mean, there's, in all of Akira Toriyama's manga, no matter how a character looks, there's nothing, negative in terms of racial commentary, But this person decided to be like, oh, well, he made the worst and best black characters. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, dude. So all of a sudden, like, Sweet Baby Inc. ended up on my radar. And then, hey, Nicole, how you doing? And then it was like, all of a sudden, like, I kept seeing these other nerd YouTubers talking about Sweet Baby Inc. And I'm like, what the hell is this thing? Like, what, because, like, I'm not on X or Twitter, and I never will be because it's bullshit. And I don't care what the elite think about anything. Except for the Young Bucks and Okada, because they're cool. And they are the elite. But like, apparently, like, Sweet Baby Inc. is a progressive consulting PR firm based in Canada that I guess advises major video game companies on how to make their video games have the right kind of identity politics in them, so that they're doing what a certain segment of the political sphere would like them to do, and that's what it is. So apparently someone like got a list of all the games that Sweet Baby Inc. had consulted on or worked on or whatever, and everyone saw this list and is like, wow, that explains why these games are so bad, you know? And so now there's like all the kind of like left liberal, you know, people, of which to a certain extent I have some sympathy, at least from a socioeconomic level, in terms of political theory. But like, they're now just like losing their shit that, you know, they're that something has kind of been exposed, and there's just all this like, you know, back and forth of them just saying, you know, like, you know, gamers are you know, bigots and Nazis and things like that. And this is like the thing that's like real, and there's also like this fear that, you know, video games are going to be a space for white men to vote for Donald Trump, and it's just like, dude, just shut up. Like, you know, like the way that democracy should work is you should be offered multiple candidates and the best one should win. So if one candidate is getting more votes than another candidate, it may be because people are not satisfied with a certain candidate, or another candidate or political party is making a poor argument. Oh, it's Georgie, the big thumper. So yeah, you know, so I'm getting really tired of like people trying to like socially engineer political outcomes through public relations firms and things like that. And video games used to be a space for, you know, dudes to just go escape into, but now that's not okay because, you know, white male capitalist patriarchy is the devil, and by any means necessary, it must be destroyed. Oh, I forgot to throw Christian in there. So like, you know, it's like, yeah, like all of like video games are like these like bigger budget video games, you know, you're getting things like less pretty girls and just, you know, a lot of, you know, like male characters getting killed off and things like that. And like people don't like, I don't play AAA games, and I'm not the only AAA games I play are like the ones that come out of Japan that are thankfully not, you know, dealing with this stuff. Although it's kind of happening. Like I've seen it in Street Fighter 6, you know, like they're kind of making the girls a little less, you know, pleasing to the eye or things like that. But like, you know, I always say this, I don't go to the romance novel section and say, you know what, these like buff shirtless dudes, like, I feel threatened by this. This is a microaggression right here. You know, we need more fat dudes on female literature, you know, because only then will people feel represented. And like, you know, like that's absurd. Of course it's absurd, you know? So like what I'm trying to say is that I don't have a problem with there being a diversity of content in video games. And in fact, if you want to see a good example of representation and diversity in content, look at Japanese manga, because you can find, you know, gender bending characters, people all across the spectrum of preferences, and it's not really politicized. You know, girl manga tends to have certain types of characters, boy manga tends to have certain types of characters. But you pretty much whatever you want to find in manga, you can find, and it's not, there's not really any kind of tension there, at least in terms of my reading of it. But, you know, the stuff that's coming out in the West is inherently divisive. And if you're looking to impact positive social change, you don't like aim for a group that in the name of equity you think you must destroy. What you need to do is start on things that people all appreciate and have in common, build on that, focus on that, and then through that, you will forge more alliances and empathy and appreciation for different people. And then from that, you know, you can start maybe talking about things that you agree or disagree on. And frankly, you probably won't agree on them, but those disagreements will kind of be compartmentalized or marginalized, or you can peacefully coexist with each other, and we can just have a better functioning existence. But what's happening is you have a group of, you know, professional agitators who have no actual belief system other than, you know, tearing things down, you know, and trying to, pursue some kind of an ill-defined vision of the future based on what they learned in college. And now they're going to work on ad firms, and, government people are, in varying degrees getting involved in this to try to massage political outcomes to their advantage. And what's suffering is the quality of video games. And then people who talk about this, end up getting caught in the crosshairs of all this bullshit. So, I don't know. I think playing video games was a lot more enjoyable in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And you got a lot better, higher quality video game as well. I'm not saying that there's not good video games out now. I'm just saying that you pay more for less, and there is definitely stuff in the games that are designed to not cater to the majority audience, And again, I don't have a problem with the diversity of themes in video games. What I do have a problem with is pre-existing brands used to Trojan horse, political goals, into things, because then all you're doing is ruining franchises.